Hello, friends. Happy Sunday. Happy first day of June. Hey, Michelle, I literally just sent you an email a few minutes ago. You and I have been back and forth with the emails and not doing so great. And you just did too. So we are on the same page. Great. I will look for it. You look for mine, and we'll actually connect. Okay. For the rest of you, hi and welcome. So glad you are here today for Miracles and Meaning. It's the science and spirit of spirituality. And I love this topic because I have been talking about spirituality. I've been delving into spirituality. And as I've mentioned before, I've always been I don't want to talk about science. But now that we have the science to be able to unpack this a little bit, it's actually very exciting. I'm curious uh, to hear what you have to say. I want to make sure that we are doing this as an interactive community discussion because, I have my thoughts, I have my beliefs. They're just my thoughts and my beliefs and my understanding. It doesn't mean that that's right for anybody else, but we can come together in community and share about spirituality and come together in community. So, what a month. June 1st, here we are. Energetically, this is woo. Oh, that's awesome, Michelle. What a synchronicity that the thunder outside just let out a big boom. Amen. Hey, Jessica, glad you are here. Welcome and come on in and get comfy. Energetically, this month, woo, unity, harmony, and alignment of head and heart. Isn't that like the science and the spirit of spirituality? I thought that was kind of perfect. It's also Pride Month. Yay! And oh my gosh, we might see the Northern Lights here in Connecticut tonight. I'm like so excited about this. I saw them last year for the first and only time in my life, and I was just blown away by it. So that will be a spiritual experience for me. If I get to see the Northern Lights, I think when I saw them last year, it was just, oh. So let's take a few moments to think about this quote from Albert Einstein. There are only two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as if everything is a miracle. So let's take a few moments to come together and ponder that. Jessica says, I prefer the second. I love that. Um, I'm not sure, Jessica. We've got some clouds. The last thing I saw was we're going to have some clouds. It might clear up around 11 o'clock at night. So I don't know. You're north of me, Jessica. So I don't know if you have the clouds in there. But as it gets dark, start looking to the north for the northern lights. And Jessica, I'm curious, did you see them last year? It was just incredible. I was like, I was absolutely, my breath was taken away from that. So let's take a few moments to really let this land, this concept of only two ways to live our lives. One is as though nothing is a miracle, the other is as if everything is a miracle. So let's take a few moments. If you're comfortable with it, close your eyes or let your eyes come to a soft gaze and find your breath. You may just notice the inhale and the exhale. You may want to count your breath. 4 count in, 6 count out. Maybe a little mantra works best for you. Could be as simple as I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. Or breathe in, I open to miracles. As I breathe out, I release any blocks. Breathing in miracles, letting go of any blocks to the miracles. Whatever works best for you, let's simply come together in this miraculous present moment. Finding our way together in community. Breathing in, opening up to the possibility of miracles. Breathing out any of those blocks. And take just a few more moments. Miracles. Only two ways to live life. One as though everything is a miracle. One as though nothing is a miracle. And when you're ready, you can simply open your eyes, thanking yourself for making this time to explore miracles and meaning, the science of spirituality. So I have been exploring spirituality since my early 20s, so over 40 years now. And I kept church hopping, right? I kept going to all these different churches because I thought that that's where religion was, where spirituality was. And it can be. I just found that that wasn't really the right thing for me. But I kept going to all these different churches. I was searching and searching and searching. And it really wasn't until I stepped into the world of hypnosis, when I did my hypnosis training in 2004, long, long ago. It opened up all these new worlds for me. And I started exploring spirituality outside of the confines of a building or a doctrine. And that opened up my whole world, not just personally, but professionally too, because so much of my work these past 20 plus years is guided by my spirituality. And it doesn't mean that I am guiding you if you're my client. I don't guide you into, thinking the way, viewing the way I do about spirituality. It's about me meeting where you are and helping you to expand and grow your spirituality. Many years ago, I did like a full day intensive one-on-one with someone, and she was a devout Catholic. And that's not my way, but it doesn't matter because it wasn't about me, it was about her. And so I met her where she was. And at the end of the day, which was a miraculous day filled with all kinds of miracles, at the end of the day, she said, "I think of you now as my spiritual doula." I helped birth her into a new understanding of spirituality into her life. And so this is like one of the best gifts for me, is that thank you, Michelle, it is beautiful. And it was just such an incredible experience, not just for her, but for me too, because when I open up to miracles, when I drop from my head into my heart, that's where the magic is. And as I said that, as I dropped from my head into my heart, I was thinking about a session I had the other day where someone kept clearing her throat, which I was like, okay, we have a blockage here, because I'm so familiar with this in my own life and with a lot of clients, of this blockage between our head and our heart. And so when we were able to clear that and she was able to come into her heart, truly, that is where the magic is. So how this came to be today was that, again, I've been exploring spirituality for all these years, for 40 plus years. And for 40 plus years, I've been married to my husband, Michael. Not spiritual. Nope, I'm not spiritual. Nope, I'm not spiritual. And I listened to a podcast that just blew things wide open for me. It was with Mel Robbins and Dr. Lisa Miller. She is the world's leading expert on neuroscience and spirituality. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person who used to be like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about the science. I love it now because there are so many of us that really need to be able to hang our hats on that science. Like, oh, there's science behind this. Well, her book, The Awakened Brain, highly recommended. You normally I would hold it up, but uh, I don't know why. I bought the digital version this time instead of the hardback, and now I have to go buy the hardbound book too because I've got to get my actual ink highlighters. Highlighting it in a digital book just doesn't do it for me. This book was amazing. Her research, it's groundbreaking. It shows that we are all biologically hardwired for spirituality and literally proof. Proof. Thank you, Jessica, for putting the book in there, The Awakened Brain by Dr. Lisa Miller. So, proof that spirituality changes our brain for the better. I have a love-hate relationship with technology, but this is where technology rocks my world because literally we can see on these fMRI scans our brains, and we'll delve into it as we go through this today. It's just absolutely amazing. So, whether you are spiritual, religious, skeptical, somewhere in between, and I'd love you to pop in the chat how you consider yourself. Do you consider yourself spiritual, religious, spiritually religious? Do you consider yourself skeptical? Do you find yourself somewhere in between? Go ahead and put that in the chat if you would. And think about this that we together, we come together in community week after week, here, this class on Insight Timer, and then all the other classes on Insight Timer. We are coming together. And for many of us, we are coming together spiritually. And then that ripples out to others. So, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Jessica says that she is somewhere in the middle. And I think that's awesome. Anybody else want to share? Do you consider yourself spiritual, religious, skeptical, somewhere in between? Got another quote for you from Buddha. And it is, if we could see the miracle of a simple flower clearly, our whole life will change. This is a beautiful peony, literally fresh cut from my garden. And yes, it smells so incredibly beautiful too. And boy, do I have a story for you about the miracle of a simple flower and a whole life changing. Amazing. I'll get to that in just a moment. I want to share something. I see something in the chat here. Michelle says she was raised very religious. She has a bachelor's and master's degree in religious studies. Wow, I didn't know that. How awesome. So you're seeing both sides of this coin too, Michelle. Um, Now you see yourself as more spiritual, but you've always been very spiritual, even when I was religious, if that makes sense. And it does make sense because it is individual for each one of us. Always sense the divine very near, as well as the spiritual realm. I love that. Love that. Mari, welcome. So glad you are here. Mari says, I'm spiritual and not religious, and I was brought up a Catholic. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else, please feel free to chat. Feel free to tell us where you fall in that. And as we go along, please, let's make this interactive, because when you all are talking in the chat with each other, it just like strengthens our community. So, what is this story I have about the miracle of a simple flower? This smells so good. If you've never smelled peonies, oh, I just love it. If you could see the miracle of a simple flower clearly, our whole life will change. So here we are on June 1st, 22 years ago. On June 1st, my husband experienced what I considered his first medical miracle mystery. Literally 22 years ago, my husband received the gift of life. He received a life saving liver transplant. That in itself is a miracle, isn't it? Like the miracle that they could take this organ from another person and put it into my husband. 22 years later, it has been giving him the gift of being able to witness our kids grow up. He was here to witness our kids graduating from high school and from college, and to see them as adults, pretty awesome adults, making their way in the world. Like, that is a miracle. And I've always witnessed it as a miracle, not the least of which, my dears, please stop and listen to this, because it's mind blowing. Like, I don't know if you've ever known somebody who's received a transplant. It truly is the gift of life. Michael was not the designated recipient. That's mind blowing. Literally, when we got the call, they said, he's not the designated recipient, he's the backup. So don't count on this. But I didn't know this until we experienced that. They always have a backup, so that if for some reason the person who is the designated recipient cannot receive that organ, they still can use that organ to save someone else's life. After the transplant, one of my husband's doctors said, I never thought that was going to happen. I never thought he was actually going to get the transplant. So, whoa, Molly, your son in law had a kidney transplant last year. That is so fabulous. That is awesome, Molly. I hope that he's doing well. And what a gift for your family. So, here, this man, okay, before the transplant, he'd gone in and out of liver failure at least a dozen times or more. Each time he went into liver failure, he was this close to dying. And yet, they had taught me how to bring him back with medicine, how to bring him back from the brink of losing his life. Right? All these miracles. You know who didn't see them as a miracle? Michael. My husband never. I am the resurrection doula also, Michelle. I love that. So Michael did not see these as miracles for 22 years. It's kind of, it's stuck in my side. Like, this is a miracle. This is the gift of life. But he did not see it until at podcast with Mel Robbins and Dr. Lisa Miller. I didn't say, oh, here, I think this would be great for you to listen to. I said, oh, no, you need to listen to this. And he did. He listened to the podcast and it made sense. Ah, thank you, Michelle, with the numbers. 44 of us. Yes, I love that. And Jessica is saying, yay, Molly, for her son-in-law's transplant. That is awesome. That is so awesome. So Michael listens to this podcast. And then the other day, by the way, I think some of you know, he's experiencing another medical mystery right now. The medical community thought 2 months ago that he'd be in a wheelchair in a hospital bed. And I can tell you that with an assisted roller device, he walked 1 mile this morning. Another medical mystery miracle. So the other day, we went to this beautiful English garden. And with this device that he has, it was a little bit challenging, but he was able to go through and it was just exquisite. It was a gorgeous day. Of course, right after we got there was a hawk circling above. So I saw that as a definite spiritual sign, right? So Michael goes into this English garden and he was like, oh, yeah, you know what? Now I understand that me experiencing this in nature, me experiencing the miracle of a simple flower, it is a miracle. And now his whole world has shifted. As Michelle says, the aha moment. So he had always confused religion with spirituality. But in that moment, yeah, it is such a gift. Magic is everywhere. It is, Michelle. So in that moment, he understood that spirituality is something innate. It's universal and it's deeply personal and individual. So let's talk about the neuroscience of spirituality, what science says, because apparently, for 22 years, Michael had a wife who kept saying, wait, do you not see this is a miracle? Wait, Michael, this is a miracle. No, he didn't because he was confusing it as religion. And he also, whoever said in the chat earlier about being raised Catholic, my husband was raised Catholic. He wanted nothing to do with it. That's his journey, right? I'm not saying anything bad about religion. It's all individual. We find what touches our heart. We find our spirituality. And now this love-hate relationship I have with technology, research now shows we can see in these fMRI machine scans, it proves that a strong spiritual life leads to greater resilience, less depression, better mental health. Let me see some hearts if you want greater resilience, less depression, and better mental health. I'm raising my hand to all of that. Research is now not just showing, it's proving that spirituality is hardwired into our brains. Each and every one of us, are born with the capacity. Hear that? With the capacity for spiritual experience. And it doesn't matter our religious belief, our background. Brain scans show that whether you are Catholic, Hindu, Jewish, spiritual, but not religious, whatever, the same neural pathways light up during spiritual experiences. We are all wired for this, and they can see it. Dr. Lisa Miller says there is one visual system, there is one auditory system, and there is one spiritual perception system. Like that just amazes me. So, what if we were to imagine our brain like an antenna and it's always tuned in to pick up the signals of meaning, wonder, and connection? The trinity of systems. You got it, Jessica. I love that. So it doesn't matter whether you call it God, the divine, the universe, nature, what else? The ability to feel awe and gratitude is part of your DNA. So let me take a pause here and catch up on the chat here. So Michelle says, it was always drilled into my brain as I was growing up. It's not about being saved, it's about a relationship with God. And of course, there are plenty of ways I recognize the very people who said that so emphatically refuse to acknowledge the relational aspect, but I digress anyway. I always took that very, very seriously. The divine is so, so near, within and around, always has been. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The sun shines on the good and the bad, those who see it and those who don't. No one is excluded from the possibility of magic. Oh, Michelle, that's so beautiful. I could not say that any better. The more I notice and acknowledge and give thanks for the tiny things, the more I find them all around. Exactly. Exactly. So there was a book. So in the early 2000s, I was not a daytime TV watcher. And, so I didn't watch Oprah every day. And one day I found myself in my kitchen when having a TV in the kitchen was kind of like, whoa, that was, something special. And I flipped on the TV for just a moment and Oprah was on. And she was showing her apartment that she had in Chicago when she was taping her show, where she would have her guests stay. And she was showing on the bedstand. Of course, I have some of my favorite books. And there was this book called When God Winks. Like when you wink, when God winks. Well, she shows that, and then I look at the clock, say, okay, I've got to go pick up my son from school. So I drive to his school, pick him up. We're going to the library. We go straight to the library. I know nothing about this book. I just know when God winks. Okay. And then I go, and of course, the book was there at the library. And it's all about how the power of coincidences change our lives. And that how once you start seeing the signs, you start seeing more and more signs. Just like what you were saying, Michelle, when we notice the signs, more of the signs seem to appear and they're all around us. It's a question of us opening up to them and not being stuck in this. Okay, well, this is religion, this is spirituality. What if they could coexist? I think they can. So, spirituality, that's our birthright. It is a natural part of being human. We can look at religion as a way to express or cultivate that spirituality. Oh, Kate, I love that. So many signs and many are speaking to your inner child. I love that. Yes. So think of spirituality as the river, always flowing. And think of religion as the boat that we sometimes use to navigate it. But you can also swim or float or just sit by the shore and still be part of the river. Do you get it? It's not a one size fits all. We are all endowed with this in our DNA, and it's up to us to be open. No matter how you choose to engage with the river, you're still part of the flow. And that's what matters most. And so it's about finding what works for us. Let me back up here, Michelle, and saying, uh, my favorite hymn is Come Thou Fount. One of the lines is Tune my heart to sing thy grace. Oh, I love that. I always love the idea of tuning our hearts. I love that too, Michelle. It's like tuning into the small and big ways the divine is within and around us always. Oh, that is beautiful, Michelle. So, what are some of the other ways that you can tune into spirituality? How do you tune into spirituality? I think that, nature is such a big part of my spirituality. Of I am blessed with where I live, that I've got nature all around me. So I'm out doing daily walks and or bike rides in nature. And not just the flowers and all of the beautiful things blossoming and growing right now in spring, but also, hawks and eagles and birds. I had like a 5-foot black snake across the path on the bike path the other day, and that was a sign for me as well. So, have you ever felt a sense of awe or wonder, whether it was from nature or art or music? We have so many. Yeah, please, no, no, universe. Please, no snakes. I love that, Michelle. So think about how many incredible musicians we have here on Insight Timer. I mean, I tune in to some of these sound baths and really have these incredible spiritual experiences. I had a mind blowing session with someone. Not willing to share too much about it yet because I'm still processing it. But one of our teachers here on Insight Timer, and she uses music in the sessions to really enhance it, and it was just amazing. So it helped bring that awe and that wonder to opening my heart. So, have you ever had an experience like that? Have you ever had an experience when you felt deeply guided or connected, even if you weren't sure why? Like the story I just shared about the book, When God Winks, right? These little inner knowings. Have you ever felt guided or supported in a way that you couldn't explain? I'd love for you to put in the chat, because as we share, we lift each other up. And again, I don't want to just be, talking head here. I don't have all the answers. I am simply a conduit for us to have some rich, meaningful, heartfelt conversations. Ah, yes, Michelle, this is a third eye raven. If you look right in the middle there, you can see the third eye. It is absolutely amazing. And oh my gosh, we have a huge raven that has been coming to visit me in the past week or so, too. Absolutely amazing. The birds, oh boy, do they come and talk to me. So, these different experiences that we have, whether it's nature, art, music, whatever it is, they're not just emotions. They're literally signs of our awakened brain, our natural spirituality at work. Michelle says, on more than one occasion, more times than I would like, I have been suddenly without a job. Also, I have been suddenly without a home. And every single time I knew the divine was up to something. It has always been part of my expansion. And I've never lived a night on the streets. I am not made for that life. Oh my gosh, Michelle, that is so, so powerful. And those of you who are hearing that or reading that in the chat, please give some love, give some hearts to Michelle. That is really beautiful. Suddenly without a job, suddenly without a home, and still she knew the divine was up to something. The universe likes to speak to me through animals and numbers, mostly, Michelle says. Me too. Ah, yes. And she says, I love ravens. They are so deeply meaningful. They really are. And once I'm very curious if any of you are like, I don't believe in any of this. And if so, please bring it. I want to hear from you in the chat. If you are skeptical about this, as my husband was for all these years, like literally the man who received the gift of life and didn't see that as a miracle for 22 years, and now he sees it. Open your heart. Ooh, who sings that song? I'm hearing that in my jukebox right now. Let's see. Michelle saying, I was just thinking yesterday when I moved into my current home, I was suddenly kicked out of my home of 5 years for no good reason. My friends loaned me their truck to move my things. I moved 2 days straight, all through the night, no break. Yes, I cried a ton, but I was so, so supported. Ah, I love that, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love the numbers. We are up to 88 meditators. Woo! I love that number 88. And if you think about 88, it's also the infinity sign. Isn't that awesome? So, share in the chat some of the ways that you nurture your spirituality. Some things that Dr. Miller, she's like, really, I've got a little girl crush on her right now. She's just amazing. Some of the things that she shared in the podcast with with Mel Robbins were to take a mindful walk in nature. And if you don't have nature accessible, then that's not for you. Notice the moments of synchronicity or coincidence. Have you ever had the experience where you're thinking about someone that you haven't talked to for weeks or for months, maybe for years, and then whoop, out of the blue, this coincidence, they call you, they send you a text, right? These are not just coincidences, they are little God winks, right? I love that because I haven't thought about that book for so long. And it literally opened up my heart in such a beautiful way. When God Winks by Squire Rushnell. It's a very thin little book, and literally, it's basically notice the signs. And the more you notice the signs, the more your heart will open, the more you will notice those moments of synchronicity or coincidence. You know that if she hadn't said this, Dr. Lisa Miller, I would have. She says, practice gratitude for small miracles in your life. Practice gratitude for everything. Because when we practice gratitude for the small things, like something as simple as I did not feel very comfortable riding past that black snake the other morning. No, I did not. I was like, please, you stay there. I'll stay on my bike. And when I got past it, nothing went wrong. Thank you. Right? It was a small thing. And yet, it was me expressing gratitude, putting that out, not just to the world, but literally putting that to the divine. Thank you. And the more that we notice and practice gratitude for the small miracles in life, the more we can notice and experience the larger miracles in life. A big part of my spirituality is through A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles for 5 or 6 years now. And if you have ever tried to get through A Course in Miracles, that big, thick blue book, never worked for me. It was like Shakespeare to me. But when I came across Pam Grout's version of the Course in Miracles experiment, where she's literally talking like real life examples, that's when I started noticing it. And one of the things I love about A Course in Miracles is it says that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. So the miracle of Michael's gift of life 22 years ago is the same as the miracle of this single flower that Buddha talked about. Serving others. I don't know about you, but I really think that our world needs much more kindness and much more connection these days. And those are deeply spiritual acts. And you hear about like random acts of kindness or whatever. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be, like a big financial expenditure or whatever. It could be something as simple as standing in the grocery store to check out, and you see the person in front of you is giving the checkout person a really hard time. And unfortunately, we see this more and more these days. What if it's your turn and you come up and you big, beautiful smile? Hey, how you doing? I saw they were a little tough. I just wanted to thank you. What do you think that would do to the other person? That is going to open up their heart. right? Serve others. So, what are some other ways that you could practice this week to be able to open up and nurture your spirituality? I would love for you to put in the chat opportunity to maybe something you share will spark it for somebody else in the community. So, wow, Molly, oh, thank you so much. Bless you. And thank you so much for sharing this. I have been blessed a couple of times. Had I not been guided by the divine, I would have lost my life to a drunk driver. That is powerful. That is really powerful, and I know Michael's watching this. I mean, he watches it every week, but especially he knew I was gonna be talking about him a lot today, so he's tuned in, and he as I read that, Molly, I can tell you, he could attest. There was one specific time where literally we were guided. I was driving and almost as if other hands had the wheel of my car and saved us. I don't know if they were drunk or whatever, but wow. Molly, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, if you didn't hear it, if you're just tuning in, Molly said she's been blessed a couple of times being guided by the divine. If it were not for being guided by the divine, she would have lost her life to a drunk driver. That is really powerful. Thank you very much for sharing that. And please let me know what other things, what other ways can you or do you nurture your spirituality? As I said, I'm a student in A Course in Miracles. Also, Michael Singer. I love his, again, it's not religious, it's spirituality. His book, The Untethered Soul, and his second book, Living Untethered. It's about spirituality. It's not about, oh, you have to do it this way. But these are what work for me. It doesn't mean that like that's the only way. I'm just simply sharing possibilities. And I'd love to know possibilities that you see that I'm not, that maybe I don't see or I'm not sharing. Since you're already here on Insight Timer, you may be familiar with loving kindness meditation. Sharon Salzberg, who is responsible for bringing loving kindness to the States back in the early 70s. She has a bunch of tracks here on Insight Timer about loving kindness meditation. And so I won't go through the whole thing with you, but I will tell you the phrases. You start with yourself. And if you would, join me. Think or say out loud if you are comfortable with it. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. And then you go on to other people. And some of those other people are not people I want to wish well. There are people I don't really feel comfortable saying, oh, may you be happy. That's me being human, right? I'm just telling you. There are people that I have a hard time with that. And so I was in a gathering with Sharon Salzberg and I asked her about it. I was like, but what do I say for people I don't feel comfortable about saying, may you be happy? And I don't remember. I wish I did. I don't remember exactly what the phrase was that she gave me, but I do remember she said, well, you don't have to say, may you be happy. You don't have to wish them well. So, what I do now is may you know compassion and empathy for all. And of course, I have to say that for myself as well. May I know compassion and empathy for all. Yeah. Michelle says meta practice, that is the loving kindness, has transformed me powerfully. Yes. There are tons of people who will tell you that the meta practice, the loving kindness meditation, change their life powerfully. And it is for me as well. It is for me as well. And Dan Harris, if you know him, he was an ABC News news person on national TV, and he had a panic attack live on the air on this national TV broadcast. And that was his opening into a spiritual experience. And he is like all double down on loving kindness meditation. So that is one way. Another way, another powerful way that I also practice is the Hawaiian prayer Ho'oponopono. Again, 4 simple lines. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Simple, powerful. You got to practice, right? Habits become habits. How? Through practice and repetition. So it's not like you say the loving kindness meditation one time and your life changes. Maybe you'll have that experience. I haven't with just one time, but with repetition, ooh, it's had a powerful influence in my life. With the Ho'oponopono, I have had the recent experience of using that as an outline for a note to our daughter. I didn't realize when I did something, I didn't realize it from her perspective. I didn't realize that, what I did was not really appropriate, certainly not according to her. And so, after the fact, I realized and I saw it from her perspective and I was like, oh, okay. So I sent her a note and I said, I'm sorry for what I was sorry for. Please forgive me. I didn't see it from your perspective. And now that I do, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for giving me the grace to be able to share this apology with you. And of course, ending it with, I love you. So, could you use Ho'oponopono or loving kindness meditation this week to see if that opens your heart a little more? Let's see in the chat. B says, I was driving on the freeway. There was a car parked in the middle lane. Woo! No warning signals or hood up. I came so close to hitting it. Suddenly, I was no longer the driver. Yes, Jesus took the wheel and veered my car to safety. Yes, there are experiences we can't explain, but know what is real. Oh, I have goosebump chills right now. B, that is beautiful. I am so grateful to you for sharing that. Wow, that is really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Share what you're grateful for, what you're going to practice this coming week, because bringing it back to Michael and his experience in the garden, that beautiful quote from Buddha, and I'm trying to find where it is. If we could see the miracle as a simple flower clearly, our whole life will change. And so Michael's life changed the other day in that garden. And again, after listening to that podcast, because Michael needed to hear the science part, right? That's why I got so excited when I read Dr. Lisa Miller's book and heard her talking about all of this. So, spirituality, it's personal, but it's also communal. We don't exist in a vacuum. So, Michael's realization came in the garden. Our class, our gathering is like a virtual garden where we can grow together. And part of that is through our sharing, this beautiful sharings from B. I mean, that was just absolutely mind-blowing. And who was it? Molly sharing about being guided, where she didn't lose her life to a drunk driver. This is important stuff that we are doing here. And as we share this together, whether it's sharing it in the chat or not, as we come together, we are lifting each other up. We are coming together in a spiritual community, whatever that spirituality looks like for you. So, as we go to starting to wrap up, I'd love for you to put in the chat one thing you're grateful for. And I could tell you a million things that I'm grateful for. If I can only say one, I will say, I am so grateful that you showed up today. And I hope that you will join again next week because we're going to continue this conversation. Lao Tzu said years ago, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So next week, oh, thank you. Oh, that is beautiful, Bliss. Grateful for my daughter. Michelle, I am grateful for Pride Month too. Yes, I am. Very much so. The magic of small steps. Next week, building lasting happiness, one moment at a time. I hope you'll join me. I hope you find those moments of wonder and awe this week. And hopefully, each time that you experience that moment of wonder and awe, it reminds you, oh, yes, this is a spiritual experience. And that it is I call it a God wink, the universe, nature, whatever. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter what someone else calls it or what they're experiencing. We each experience it individually. Molly, grateful for my garden. It just fills my heart. I got that. Yes. V, awesome. Thank you. Grateful to be present with you all today. We are grateful for you as well. So, my invitation for you this coming week, keep exploring. Be curious, trust in whatever name you want to give it, that your spiritual path is unfolding just as it should. Just as Michael found his spirituality in a garden, which is probably not where he thought he would find it, may you find yours wherever you are, on a freeway with Jesus or whoever grabbing the wheel. As Dr. Lisa Miller says, you are loved, guided, and never alone. Science and spirit agree. I love you. Here's to miracles, meaning, and the magic of community. Have a great week, friends.